Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you to the March 14th regular meeting of the Wayne County Board of Commissioners. I'd like to begin the meeting by asking Commissioner Thomas if he would lead us in invocation and Mr. Davis if he would lead us in pledge allegiance.
Heavenly Father, we thank you, God Almighty, having our power in your hand. Father, we ask that you give us everything we do to please in your sight. Father, we ask you to continue to bless our county and citizens, those who are here, those who wish to be here. We ask you also to bless those who are fighting in harm's way to exercise this right. We ask you to continue to enlarge our territory. But Father, let's do everything to each other as we have everyone do it to us. Let's treat everyone right. Father, continue to pray for this nation that we come through these turbulent times and that we all come out of it. Thank you so much. We give all this praise and glory to your Son, Jesus Christ.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you for your interest in county government, your participation and attendance of the meeting. The first order of agenda is the modification of the agenda. Mr. Jeffers, you have a modification?
I do, Mr. Chairman. As you know, every year we have a reconciliation of the previous year's budget, and we are ready to go do that right now. We have two meetings before y'all want close.
Yes.
It's a resolution to amend this for the budget. We just have a balancing the budget out.
Okay. I'd also like to make a modification to add to the agenda discussion of Lake Grace valve repair for a temporary basis. And staff's improvement.
Lake Grace, be item number H in the amendment to the budget. J.
All right. Any other amendments?
Mr. Williams, you will put the line
Okay, J.
H.
What have you
Sorry, don't matter. J, I just checked mine as the resolution, and H would be the last item. No, excuse me. All right. Okay, I'm sorry.
There you go.
My apologies. J is the resolution for the budget amendment.
Okay, if you want to. Any other modification? I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda as modified.
Second.
Motion second, discussion.
Commissioner Hires,
Yes.
Commissioner McCrary,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes. Next item is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. I trust you all have a chance to read those. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion and second, discussion. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner McCrary,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Hires.
Yes. Item 6, presentations and announcements. We have Ms. Lana Wright here with the Wayne County Family Connection Stopper Program. Ms. Wright, you want to come up before you say anything? I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome our Superior Court judges, Judge Carter, Judge Harrison, Judge Gill, and also our state court judge, Judge Hill. Appreciate y'all doing it. Thanks, Ms. Wright.
Is it okay if I stand here or where would you like me to?
No, that's fine.
Well, I want to thank you guys for letting me come tonight. I want to share a little bit of information with you. We are here mainly to talk to you about our Stop It At presentation. But first, I'd like to put a pitch in for the Wayne County Family Connection. I don't know if many of you are here are familiar with Family Connection, but let me just give you a real quick overview. Family Connection began by a pilot program in 1991 by Governor Zell Miller, who coordinated some services. He wanted to bring some counties together. There were about 15 counties that were pilot counties in the state of Georgia, and his endeavor was to coordinate social, economic, educational, and physical well-being to children and families in the state of Georgia. This pilot program was very successful, and at the end of 2 years, what they decided to do was expand that to each county in the state of Georgia. What they did was we're funded by a state grant, and so we have 159 counties in the state of Georgia, and each one of them have a family connection coordinator. And I have the privilege of being the Wayne County Family Connection Coordinator here in Jessup. So what we do basically is that we have a collaborative that meets on the fourth Monday of every month in the morning. And we are able to talk about and discuss issues surrounding our community. You have in your binders a quick brochure that I made up for you that talks a little bit about who we are, what we do, our board members, and we also have a strategic plan that we have prepared every year for the state. Our partnership is in Atlanta, and they require us to come up with a strategic plan. My former occupation is with the Army for 39 years, was a strategic planner. So when this job came up in Wayne County, I felt like I might be a little bit beneficial since I hadn't been able to get involved in the community all those years, because I worked in Liberty County. I used to tell my husband I only got to eat and sleep in Wayne County. However, this gave me the opportunity to become fully involved or somewhat involved in Wayne County and the community and the needs of the community. So if you will know, we do have 4 strategies. Our first strategy is education, because we look real strong at reading in the state of Georgia for our children and math. We do monitor the ELA standards for the 3rd grade reading proficient level. We know by studies that if children cannot read at the appropriate level by the 3rd grade, we know that their opportunity for graduation lessons, their opportunity for the problem of dropouts also increase. So our goal is to try to develop strategies for the work of the Board of Education and any community affiliations or civic activities that may want to help us provide any kind of educational opportunities for our children. And so we work real hard with that. My board does have a Board of Education member on it. Dr. Kelly, the superintendent of schools, has been gracious enough to be my physical agent. So I have a direct line with him and those folks that can help me with the data and help me help them plan for things for the children in the community. We also have a strategy that deals with mental health, and how we can support mental health folks that need help, and how we can make the community more aware of the needs about mental health. We have a strategy that deals with substance abuse and opioid abuse. We have a grant, and I have the privilege of serving on the Substance Coalition Board, the Recovery Coalition Board here in Wayne County. I serve on that board as the Education Committee Chair, and we have a lot of opportunities in the community to be able to help folks that are in recovery or need recovery. And so we have a lot of avenues and benefits there because Wayne County got a significant grant to do that. So I just wanted to make you guys familiar with what we can do. Our goal is to help our citizens of Wayne County find resources that can help them in many areas. It can be food, clothing, shelter. We also, our last strategy is one for homeless. We do not recognize, most people don't recognize that we do have a homeless problem here. We know that there is a homeless problem because we get the calls about people in need, and we have a strategy now to try to find out just how many homeless people we have in the community and reach out to resources that may be able to help them. So if there are not any questions, I would like to put a plug in for Family Connection and let you know that our collaborative is well represented by the community, but we can always use some of our government officials. It'll only take 2 hours of your time on the 4th Monday in every month, and we will make sure that the time is well spent for you. So having said that, what I'd like to do now is introduce Susan Delgado. She is the co-chair of my collaborative, and Susan has been beneficial in helping me and the collaborative procure and field a program called the Stop It Act. And I'm going to introduce her and let her run the Stop It Act capability. But I will tell you that some of you may be familiar with the Stop It Act because it's currently being used now in the high school. We are the only community right now, according to the Stop It Act program people that have this, that we're trying to fill this community-wide. Most of the Stop It has been filled up in the northern part of the United States, with police departments and sheriff's departments, but we're trying to do it community-wide. So we want to introduce the app to you, make it available to any citizen in Wayne County, and have Susan access.
Thank you. And she's gonna hand you flyers, and the flyers are just a quick, like a 4-step process on how to get the app on your phone or on your device. So as she said, what happened was, a few years ago, the unfortunate year that we had 4 young suicides in Wayne County, the high school implemented the Stop It app, and they were extremely instrumental when we looked at data and helping teenagers and helping these students get help, whether they needed counseling or a student in crisis or whatever. And we said, hey, we have a crisis in Wayne County. COVID hit. Rayonier calls and says, listen, we know that there are a number of areas where our citizens are affected by COVID. We think mental health might be one of them. We understand you have a mental health task force. They gave us a $15,000 grant, and we immediately were able to provide services to people that had no means to get mental health services. We had data on that, what those numbers were, what the cases were, what the environments were, and so forth, and people very successfully received mental health treatment. During that period of time, we took them probably a year, a little over a year, to research the Stop It app and find out if we put it community-wide. They are actually in schools all over the country, and I believe it's the state of Arkansas implemented it in all of their schools because they felt such a need for it. Our high school still uses it, and I believe it has been introduced to the middle schools as well. So the Stop It app, to share with you who it is, what it is, I do want to tell you, we had one meeting with the owner, with the executive director of Stop It. They made a change in the app, and quite frankly, I was a little upset. And so we got on the phone with them. We had their chief technical officer, Lana, myself, Kay Nichols from the hospital, and I'll explain why her in a minute. And we talked with them. And the week before, just coincidentally, the week before, there was a dead body found on my son's property, and a gentleman overdosed in his front yard, all within a 7-day period. So I was a little bit wound up, needless to say. And the man said, Susan, let me stop you right here. He said, I'm going to tell you why this started. He said, my child was at Sandy Hook Elementary School. And my partner's children were at Sandy Hook Elementary School when that shooting took place. And he said, this app can save people, can help people. So we're here to do whatever we need to do to help you. And they've been on. So the hospital had a grant, and the hospital paid the majority of the implementation in the first year, and Rayonier picked up the balance for the first year so that we could get community-wide with it. Talked about high school, why they use it. We would not be here. Family Connection was able to pick up a small portion and all facilities of the Stop It app. You download it, you have the download information. Very important thing, there are, I believe, 11 states in the United States that have a Wayne County. So many of those 11 states that have a Wayne County in their state also have a Wayne County school of some sort. So when you download the app, you need to find Wayne County GA reporting, and that's us. That's our Wayne County, and that's our reporting service area. So when you do download it, you can, the whole premise is to report anonymously. Now, you can give them your name, your address, your phone number. You can submit photos. You can submit a picture of the license plate of the drug deal you just saw go down. Law enforcement can communicate with you. They can ask you, would you like to share who you are, where you are? You can tell them everything. You can tell them nothing about yourself. And law enforcement here, it is truly anonymous. It takes a court order to actually get the full extent of exactly where that report came from. So it gives the community absolute ability to communicate. I think I'm just so upset I don't want to live. Okay? We have mental health concerns. We haven't had mental health suicide report so far. animal control, we just discussed it out there, pulled up in your front yard at your front door. You know, I don't know why that would be an anonymous report, but, we do have substance use. Probably the majority of the, reports we've got so far have been substance use or drug tips. We had an admin meeting last week with the drug counselors, we have mental health professionals, both Jessup PD and Wayne County Sheriff's Department are all on board working with us. They all have the administrative app, E911, Amy has the app. She gets all of the calls that come through and makes sure that they get routed correctly. It was confirmed in our admin last week that some of the info that's come through the apps absolutely have helped with the case. So, absolutely successful. I know that the suicide report, or possible suicide report got help directly to the individual that was, thinking of killing themselves that particular month. So, it's real simple, you know, the app, what kind of questions? I feel like I'm talking real fast, but I think it's a lot of this. We would love your support and cooperation.
I have a question.
Sir,
Do y'all know approximately how many homeless folks we have in the weekend?
the answer to that, so I will address that because I've kind of been, that's been one of my personal, missions for years.
Yeah.
The school system has a number that they follow what they call the Kenny Benko definition of homeless, and they have a number of students, you know, that they say that. The answer to your question is no, and what we are doing with our homeless task force right now, and our subcommittee that we just started, our first step is not to open a homeless shelter because you have to know what you have. So our first step is have a point in time count. And we actually have a meeting scheduled tomorrow afternoon with a gentleman from State Harbor in Lynn County who has just finished their point in time count. So it takes law enforcement, it takes many volunteers, it's a plan, go through training, and pardon me, it takes a number of people to do this, but we need to get into the known areas, and we need to get a really good number. And once we have that number, then we'll know exactly what services are needed and how to provide those needs, and what our needs are as far as homeless shelters. But, the answer to that, unfortunately, is no, but we are in, so absolutely starting tomorrow on our, spending plans to do that, and we will share all of that. And I just kind of want to throw out a little kudos to the president on that, give us office space every week for the Family Connection Services, and, of course, we have social media and website, wakehelp.com. What other questions do you have of us?
Susan Williams, I was going to ask you, what we do to help, just ask the mayor if this is something that we put on our county website. Would that be a help?
Please, that would be a huge help.
Would you mind reaching out to Amanda tomorrow, possibly?
I certainly will do that. I certainly will do that. Thank you. And any and all, and I, been in the website business for over 20 years, I don't know this currently, but I don't know if our law enforcement has separate websites or not. But we would love to be on all community and county, websites. Thank you very much for that. That would be great. We have, I printed 50 posters, but we will make them available to email out or to print or to hand out if anybody wants added materials, posters. The cards I gave you, we had printed back, a little ways back, and it does not say Wayne County GA reporting, but I wanted you to have one because on the back it has that QR code for our resource directory. I'll put in a plug for that. 24/7 resource directory, all subject types. So you can go there if you have someone in need. If you notice resources that are being provided for Wayne County citizens and they're not in our resource directory, we want to know it. Preston Hill publishes it in their annual magazine, which is a really big help, and then it's on the website at wakehelp.com 24/7.
Yeah, if you don't mind emailing this to me, and I'll make sure that we get on website and any other departmental websites that may,
Yeah, all right.
That would be great, and we will keep you informed of the progress and the numbers and so forth. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for working with the lab to find,
Moving forward with things. Under citizens concerns, we have none on the agenda of the meetings, none on the consent agenda, none on old business, none under new business. However, we have quite a document here. Item A is consider approving the request for proposal for the pre-construction estimate for the judicial complex. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, as you know, we're in the design phase or concept phase of a judicial complex. And, you know, we need to look at, you know, going into, I need a pre-construction estimate, a firm estimate from a contractor that does this for them. So we went out and got proposals from, we went out and got proposals or submitted for proposals. We got 5 proposals back from various contractors to do this. There are contractors at risk. Now, this is not to start a building process. We're a long way from that, but it's to determine and get a good estimate on how much a complex or what we have are developing right now, what that would cost. And so we can bring it back to this board and see where we go from there. So we've got 5 of them: Allstate Construction, Garvin Construction, Parrish Construction, Pope Construction, and TQ Constructors. And looking at this thing, it's the pre-construction estimate is the primary purpose for this proposal. And actually, Allstate was the lowest for pre-construction, but it had $45,800 for the rest of it. So my recommendation at all 5 of them, they all came in. Garvin was $40,195. It's a change. Parrish was $92,500. Pope was $42,777. And TQ was $17,605. You know, my recommendation is TQ is doing a court complex in Toombs County currently. They have good experience at it. They're at a Metter. They're also doing J.D. Bacon for the school board here. I've reached out to the Toombs County administrator. They're very pleased with the results and the estimates and reporting of TQ. I also reached out to the superintendent of Wayne County Schools, and he's very pleased with their performance at James E. Bacon. Now, all 5 of them could do the job. All 5 of them do this for a living. And most of them have limited amount of court building experience, at least recently, except for TQ. My recommendation is to go with TQ at $17,605, and it's in the budget.
I want to know what the chairman said about qualifications of TQ.
I reached out to one of our board of education members who's working closely with the James E. Bacon project. And I'll be here to talk to Mr. Jamie Ellis, who's principal of James E. Bacon, about the performance of TQ Constructors in working with and in a facility that is operational and has to remain operational in school. It will be similar to the courthouse, and our current courthouse, we can have to continue to operate as a courthouse while construction is going on. So many of these things are taken into consideration. Based on what we've learned about the contractors, their experience and their qualifications, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the expenditure of $17,000. What's the change? $605 to move forward with TQ Constructors for the budget estimate on
It's a budget estimate for all we're doing.
for the judicial complex.
I second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
So we didn't get anything in our packet. What is this 17,600? What's it consist of? Because, like I say, we didn't get anything in our packet saying what it's for or what we're looking at. Are we just getting a draw building, or has somebody already made the decision what we're looking at?
Commissioner, what we're purchasing here is a service
to provide an estimate on what is already, a concept, or starting to be a concept. It's being developed into a concept right now of a judicial complex. And in order to meet the timelines, for it to be on a resolution for approval, then, we need to have a pre-construction estimate. This, what we're paying for is a contractor to work with architect that we have over here to look at it closely with him and to provide us and the architect with an estimate of how much realistically a complex of that nature is going to cost us, especially with inflationary aspects and supply chain issues associated in the current environment. That's what we're getting. That's what 17,000. Nothing beyond that. As soon as we get the final design or concept out there, we'll bring it to y'all and have that approval. And what we're trying to do is have the contractor work with the consultant or architect and help us come up and say, they will present a plan to you, and this is how much it's estimated to cost. Not here's the square footage cost, it's a true cost and constructability of a design. So that's all we're doing. It's a part of the architectural concept program.
Basically, it's to help explain also, it's one of the steps, one of the steps we took was the program portion where every end user that would be in the judicial complex, or the I guess
Probably a better term is the addition and renovation to the current courthouse. Every end user was consulted and got their opinion on what they need. Security measures were inquired upon. This is a step. Now that we have that programming, architects take that information and come up with an end user need. And now what we're asking for is to get the cost of that need, so you know how much we're moving forward with if we move forward with the project.
And again, Commissioners, we're in the process of doing the end user need and concept, but along with that concept, if we present it to you, it's like, this is nice up there, but can we afford it? And so this process is part of that to help determine up there, we present something to this board, then to move forward up there, here's the design, or here's the concept, and here's how it's gonna be, look, and then how much is it gonna cost, and that's part of the
and
process.
this is to get us to how much it's going to cost.
And it's gonna get us to how much, but it's in concert with working with the architect to get us to that point so we can deliver something to this board.
Yeah, so maybe you're not hearing my question. So we relinquish the rights of the authority to make any decisions on this bill, correct?
I think we will.
The authority's purpose is to help obtain the financing for this building if we get to that.
That's right. But at the work session, that's what you told, or y'all said, was that they wouldn't be doing any picking out of any colors or tiles or anything in the building. So I guess my question is, you have to have a scope of work to go off of. Where is that scope of work coming
That's what we're
from?
developing. This is what the process is. And the pre-construction estimate is involved in that scope of work. What is the scope and how much does it cost? And then give it we have to sell this, we have to sell this to for referendum on the SPLOST, right? So, once that's done, then the authority will come into play with some other things that need to be done based on this board's, request. And then we'll go from there. When we have that, then we can go, and that authority can go out and seek the funding necessary to build this thing. But they can't seek funding unless they have concept and cost. And this is what we're trying to establish right now. That's all.
So the architect is the one making up what we're gonna be designing? And, I mean, that's where I'm having the problem is who is lead guiding and directing them in the path that we wanna go?
Well,
Or whoever wants to
the
go.
architect and that group interviewed all the participants, all the people that reside in that, or will reside in that, the judges and lawyers and such are there to reside in this building. A very extensive, programming, if you will, an assessment of what their needs are, what requirements by law are, and a whole host of different things. So they came up with that, and the architect takes that, and based on that information and their requirements and the requirements of the judicial, process,
I'm good, you answered my question.
Okay, well,
That's all I need
that's
to
right,
know,
that was it,
where you
yes,
get the direction from, and,
yes, good deal.
okay.
Yep.
All right, any more discussion?
Have a motion and second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Hires,
Yes.
Commissioner McCreary.
Yes.
Now, you pointed over your shoulder there, when you pointed, a little bit concerned about that, because I want you to understand that the design needs for the judicial complex came from interviewing every single end user, down to every secretary in every department, and every constitutional officer that's gonna be housed. So that information came from everybody that's gonna be using that complex.
Well, you understand my concern, right?
Explain your concern.
I wanna make sure whatever they're designing, whatever this construction proposal is something that, I'm gonna point out it again, something that they need and they can use. I mean, I got nothing in my book, so I didn't know all of this, so that's why I wanna make sure before I approve $17,000 to be spent, that we have a direction to go in, and we don't just have a contractor coming in saying, okay, well, y'all need a 2,000 square foot courthouse that's not gonna do anybody any good. I
I'm
wanna make
perfectly
sure.
fine with that, I just want to make sure that this meant everybody's input has been taken into consideration, including the gentleman and lady in the box. Yeah, so the next step will be, we will be presented with a budget, a tight budget number of what the complex will cost and the design concept. So that you can see, this is what it's gonna cost, this is what
We'll get that before the meeting, I hope.
Commissioner probably trying to go do that in the work session.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is, consider approving the engineer services for the design and construction on J.C. Henson Road.
Excuse me.
First of all, I apologize for being late, but you heard me, we have to start time.
I apologize, you know, we changed that, so the time is off.
Okay, a couple of years ago, work session, you approved, paving 13 roads. And we've been taking along that list now over the last couple of years. And what I'm coming forward tonight is to ask your approval for, design engineering services so we can, go ahead and prepare the work on J.C. Hamilton Road, which is the next one on our list. And so I'm asking for $32,250. That will cover all of the engineering services, the design, the bidding, construction management, and everything associated with that project. And the company that we've been using to do that work is T.R. Long Engineering.
This is on the P-Spot, or not P-Spot, this is on the SPOS list, we're working on that to get completed. What we're trying to do is complete SPOS within all those roads that were on there. As I considered in the work session, these roads, and this, J.C. Hamilton is the next one. And so Fifth Road is in the process of being paved this year, up to a certain point, and then J.C. Hamilton, and there are several other roads right behind that, that will be coming to y'all. So we just need engineering design to do this.
I'll make a motion that we accept the proposal to the Diamond Bureau of SEO.
I'll second.
Motion and second, any discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Hires,
Yes.
Commissioner McCreary,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts.
And Jackson Hill Road is in what district?
Two.
That's your road.
Thank you, Mr. Chief. Item C, consider approving the legislative bill for the election board.
We have battered this thing back into, we sent drafts to Atlanta, to legislative council. We revised those drafts and sent them again. We have another revision sent back down to us on some more language with the election board. We really don't have time to send more language back to Atlanta to meet the legislative session, as I understand possibly the urgency for creating an election board may be a little less than it was even when we met last. So, given the fact that we don't have time to get the language back, I'm gonna make a motion that we table the election board selection process and conception of the election board until a later date.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion and second, discussion.
Commissioner Hires,
Yes.
Commissioner McCreary,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Item D, consider approving the resolution to adopt amended
And restated ACCG 401K, 401A, defined contribution plans.
Mr. Chairman, this is the regulations and the rules, that we use, that ACCG has adopted, that we participate in that retirement plan, so our recommendation is to approve this time.
Need a motion to approve? Yes. So moved.
Did anything change in that you, I mean, it's a lot of paperwork.
Yes, sir, and from the perspective of the county employees, I don't know of any major issues over there. This is normal regulatory changes in the ACCG board. They direct that part of it. Nothing from the county participation or anything from county employee participation, you know, I don't think changed a whole lot there. That's, not that I'm keenly aware of, Commissioner.
Commissioner Hires,
Yes.
Commissioner McCreary,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Item E, consider approving
Changing of Wayne County DFAX board members from 5 to 7.
Mr. Chairman, some of the board members that come to me, currently there's 5-member board, and there are, the authority of this board is to go to 7. And so, it has been a request of a couple of, Commissioner Thomas, and to extend this to 7, and the 2 members, extra members will be at large, and I'll just let you talk.
Mr. Chairman, I attended a workshop in Savannah, and they sort of gave an overview and what the complexion of that board needs to be made up of, and it should reflect the community, and it should have a person from every aspect of the community. And the 2 people that we added, or we want to add to the board, will reflect that aspect on the board and the community. And it's Chief Perry and Mark Watson of the House Party, which will add another dimension and really strengthen that board.
And we had that under appointments.
Yeah, we'll take this one. Okay.
Well, I make a motion that we increase the number of the members of the DFAX board to 5 to 7.
Second.
Motion second, discussion.
Now, those 2 members are gonna be at large.
Yes.
So they'll be selected by all the board.
Yes, each one of you have a selection to this board, and then these will be at large.
Commissioner McCreary,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Hires.
Yes. Item F, consider approving bid for ambulance.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Johnson, do you mind stepping up here? So, as you know, we've been out getting the bids, and this is coming from ARP money, so, we have to approve a resolution to change that money. So, if you got that bid up there, so. Again, commissioners, we've been trying to get an ambulance. The last one, we had specs out on, we did not, we were not able to get, the manufacturer came back to us and said they could not get that chassis, and that, you know, we need to, amend, you know, go back to the drawing board. So Richard, Mr. Johnson, went back out and got a new spec, and if you want to cover that spec, what you want to do, is if you want to give them an overview.
Sure. Yes, sir. Initially, the last one we purchased a couple of years ago, we had so much problems with the diesels we had in the past with the DEF system. We bought gas, Dodge, 1-ton chassis. And we sent out for bid a couple of months ago. We only received one bid back, and the person that bid on it, the manufacturers that build these trucks aren't able to buy chassis. Those chassis are specifically designed for an ambulance. It's not just a 1-ton truck chassis. It has to be built from the factory for that purpose. So they couldn't get a chassis this year, so they probably couldn't get one this year. But no saying in the future. And anyway, we rebid and went back with a Ford F-450 chassis, which was a bigger truck, bigger frame, bigger truck. These chassis are built specifically for that. They're more readily available. Maybe we can get one of these chassis processed and started a lot sooner than the Dodge. So that'd be at least next year before we can think about getting a Dodge chassis. Our fleet is getting run, as y'all know, run a little over 5,000 calls a year. Even if buying one every other year, which we haven't done, and they're 10 years old before they get cycled out. Barn does a good job here. And surprisingly to me, the F-450 Ford gas powered chassis was the same cost as the Dodge gas 1-ton. So anyway, that's what the bids came back. We only received one bid back. The total was $170, $597 for that truck.
The commission, we're asking for approval to purchase this vehicle, and then also to amend the budget, because that funding will come out of ARP, so we will amend the budget like we're going to do on ARP funding.
I'll make a motion with mine. Second. Got a motion, second, any discussion?
So the majority that y'all have now are diesels, is that?
3 of the 5 are diesel, but we've replaced at least 3 engines in those trucks. The DEF systems, if you're familiar with the diesel system, they're designed primarily, it's an emissions add-on they did, and they do good on open road, but short runs, run 2 miles, shut it off, crank it back up. They have to go through a regen cycle, and there was a lot of problems for those. And I know we replaced at least 3 engines. We had to knock on wood. Had any problems with the gas that we got? I did a survey in a lot of counties, Glenn County, they're using gas now. Just seems to work better for us. And it's a little bit cheaper. There is such a thing as cheap fuel nowadays. So the maintenance is cheaper. The county barn here, the same engine as the engines that are in the transit buses that they use now. And they're familiar with maintenance on them, their reliability. They give us the green light as far as that engine and everything goes. That's what we're asking you guys to.
More discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Hires,
Yes.
Commissioner McCreary.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item D, consider approving intergovernmental agreement with the city of Jessup.
for our final prediction. Commissioners, we've gone around on this, and, we met as a committee, Commissioner Thomas, Commissioner Vice Chairman Walker, on that committee. We came to an agreement, we have 180-day out, each party does, if we decide not to do this. It's over a 10-year period, renewable, 3 times over that 10-year period, but again, we have a 180-day out, half a year. The $360,000 a year, that we came up with, the city requested that, increase, effective annually of 2.5% for, CPI, whatever's the greatest, will be added to that, and we kind of tend to, right now, this is to protect the county, provide 4 firemen to go out in the county from the city of Jessup and to cover the areas that may not be covered, and with the loss of the city of Jessup going out of the city. And this was an ISO, again, this was an ISO regulation aspect. The city of Jessup needs to keep a number of people in the city limits. We're paying for 6 firemen, basically, at the city of Jessup. So my recommendation after all that is to approve this language and contract with the city of Jessup, and then if you do, then we'll send it to the city in the morning, and they'll have it on their agenda tomorrow night.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we met with the city, we had a real cohesive meeting, and pleasant, we discussed some things at length, and, we all came to an amicable agreement, and this was the best thing for Wayne County and for the city, so, I'll make a motion. Is it agreement?
I'll second that. Motion second.
I know last time we had talked about it was 300,000. What's the $60,000 difference?
I think, same thing, Commissioner, and what they did was basically, talk about the training and other aspects that go through for the firemen and with equipment and, other aspects of it. And then, some of that is maintenance of equipment going out into the area, so we didn't get too much into that, but it was cost of 6 people, and, the new board basically said that the cost was not, $300,000 did not cover the true cost. The overall cost, the administrative aspect of the training and so forth.
We should sign it.
We don't, that's right, we don't, my first every time I meet them, it goes up,
So I didn't see the number in the agreement. Where is it at?
It's in, excuse me, sorry, it's in there. Go to page. You go to page 5, page 5. And that's the other page missing is and we missed the page, Commissioner, I will give it to you, the $360,000 a year, and I think change basically was that number, plus a cost of increase, annual. And, 2.5% cost of inflation right now, we're at about 7.5%. They want some more, and I basically asked them if we could tie it to the CPI, an annual CPI cost of price, consumer price index, number. So they all agreed to that, and their lawyer brought it up, and we looked at it. Well, I'm sorry, I'll get you that page, man. What's that page too? I can figure that out.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Commissioner Hires,
Yes.
Commissioner McCreary,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts.
Yes. Okay. And the, business is H, consider approved various needs for purchases for the sheriff road and recreation department.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, this is, I think most of you are aware of the supply and demand of new vehicles. And we've been on the list trying to buy vehicles for the deputies, for road department, for recreation, one vehicle up there. And so it's hard to get a price that these vehicles will go quickly and be able to come back to y'all. And these are ARP money. And this is ARP funding, so it's coming back to y'all for approval. So all I'm asking for is pre-approval to spend up to basically $40,000 per vehicle. So, and actually, on the, I had two deputy trucks and a detective vehicle over there. On that, if you're gonna go more, but basically $120,000 for the sheriff. And that means we're gonna spend that money, but, finding the vehicle and getting it and securing it is a moment's notice kind of thing. We get some bids on it, and it goes through the automatic for approval. And the road department, 2 crew cabs, for supervisor, and then we'll pass their trucks back down to the, second level, because those equipment, those trucks are getting wore out pretty quick, so. And then, recreation director, his truck, he uses that a lot to travel, to the different tournaments, for the kids, and we just need to update that. And they'll be passed down as well.
When you change the amount on the sheriff's department,
We can take it to 160. And I'll get 3 deputy vehicles plus an SUV.
can we add a dump truck for the road department?
Because we approved it, and they could not go, they couldn't get it, just like you're saying, they couldn't get it. And they had to go with a different one. Well, we lost that window and lost the truck, so they wound up with nothing and back on the waiting list.
I think we need to do that as a separate item because the dump truck will probably come out of SPOS, Chief SPOS, and this is coming out of ARP. So if you want to make a motion, amend the agenda and make a motion to add that as an item for purchase under different funds.
Well, I think we need to, because, like I say, they had one, they didn't get approval, so they didn't get it, so we wound up with, we're missing one dump truck that we had already approved the money for.
We're in the process of looking at the dump truck, if you don't mind, up there.
It's actually already approved and it's awaiting the location of the dump truck. There's nothing else really for us to do on it, as far as I know. because
We
did
can come back on
purchase
that, we just don't know what we need to go, how much money you need, approve. Is it 200,000, is it 170,000, is it 150,000? That part of it, I don't know, so we can get some estimates for that. We've actively been pursuing this with the road department and Elton about what we need. They found one, and the road department, just looking at the specs on it, find out what's available. Because what we had before, we'd already purchased it. They basically called us up and said, no, it ain't there no more. So, that came out of SPOS.
Well, and that's what I'm saying, just if we can give them a little more leeway,
That's right.
a limit to what they can spend, and then that way they can go ahead and do it without us having to have a call meeting to approve that money for a different.
It still wasn't, that wasn't the problem. The problem is that with the supply chain and logistics right now, they simply couldn't get the dump truck that we approved and purchased months after we approved the purchase.
Yeah, but they found one that was comparable to it, and it was less money, and we didn't get it because they could not swap it over because we had agreed to a specific, to the ordered truck that we had.
All right, if you want to modify the agenda and make a motion that we give the leeway, then you can do that after we get this one.
Yeah, this is separate.
Separate funds, we have to look
And
at.
that's through the T-Splosh, correct?
No,
No, the dump truck would be through SPOS. This is through T-SPOS, yes,
No, this is the ARP.
or ARP, yeah. The dump truck would be through SPOS.
All right. We have a motion and second. Any more discussion?
No, you didn't have a motion.
Yes.
No.
All right, I make a motion that we increase the amount of sheriff's department deputy trucks and one SUV to $160,000 allowance. Anything about that, let's come back to the board. Second. Okay, and throw the road department at 80, recreation department 38. Motion to second, any discussion?
And you're approving the budget resolution.
To amend the budget, to accommodation for those ARP funds.
So the total of 278, right?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Myers,
Yes.
Commissioner McCreary,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts, Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
268, right? Yeah, 30, 10,
No, 40.
that 42. From 120 to 160. Oh, 160. Okay. Item I, consider and approve various recreation projects. Jennifer?
Chairman, at the request of the board, we look at the cost estimates for various projects, at the J.C. Fairgrounds. We completed the one down at the landing and the RV park on the right side, the one down to the landing. And this has to do with the, west side of the fairgrounds, the fairground building, that's there, and then at Lake Grace, based on, some knowledge and conversations with different people over there, two campsites, going forward. I gave you the layout of everything, so right now, the J.C. Fairgrounds, to complete that, it would include a restroom, building, modifying the inside, taking care of it, beautifying it a little bit, put that walkway out front, beautifying that a little bit, redo it and not redo it, making a new ticket booth and setting it up properly. Remodifying the existing bathrooms inside, the new bathrooms will be outside, and a new roof on it. Basically, the roof is leaking and has leaked in the past, on the side, so this will cost us $85,000. It'll also include a fencing up front. The fencing would be, as it's seen in your packets up there, in front of the building, probably 12 feet out, 6 or 12 feet out, in front of the existing fence, and go around there with gates from the corner, on the Parker side, all the way to the tractor pull metal wall. Right, and then we got J.C. Hub building. That J.C. Hub building over there, we need to get it, to modify, to renovate, to get that J.C. Hub building. And it's not putting offices inside, doing anything, walls inside the building other than sidewalls. We wired it, put the HVAC, there, redoing the bathroom, making some ADA, compliant new roof, and a couple other things spelled out there, and that's $65,000. And then Lake Grace, 2 sites, one up there by, the new, or the boat ramp, and then one down there further, down West Lake Drive. So that's all $62,000. So a little bit of contingency in there based on inflation, based on other things coming up. And then we got, from a schedule wise, from an implementation side, our recommendation and talking to our resources here, we start on the restrooms at the campground, at the fairgrounds. Due to the, fair coming here in the next month or 2, and get that done. And then finish that up out there. It's up to y'all. total $221,000. This will be SPOS money out of recreation.
I'd like to see these come before us individually, or either separate this item out into 4 different items. One being that's 3 different items. So we can discuss them.
Well, the J.C. Fairground building is $85,600. That's how you want to go?
No, I want to, even if we table the top 3 until the April meeting, which is what, 2 weeks away, I'd like for it to come to us as an agenda item, so that we can vote on the J.C. Fairground building as an item and approve it, or not approve it. J.C. Fairground building as an item, not approve it. So the top 2, I'm gonna make a motion that we separate this, we table the top 2 items until the April meeting.
That's all.
And go ahead and vote on the RV sites tonight. So I'm gonna make a motion that we separate them out, bring them back to us with an agenda item for the 85,000, plus the 65,000, and we'll go ahead and settle RV sites tonight.
Okay.
Isn't that about what the tourism board was gonna do?
No, tourism board wasn't gonna do near that, anywhere near that.
They were at $90,000. I know they were gonna put put a new
Motion in second.
roof on it.
Discussion, any discussion?
I know they were gonna put air in it, put a new roof on it, change the bathrooms and all of that.
I don't know Robert received the rent for it.
That's the number I remember, $35,000, and they weren't gonna improve. These restrooms don't go outside, so you're gonna have to access it from inside the building up there. If you're fair, you can access it from outside. That's another thing, we're also going to tear down the existing livestock building up there, and revamp that, so that's within that cost. But we could
Please do that, that's addressing it. If there's a lot of, of course, other than, I need to speak to JC, but if there's, other than the fair, and if we, I think we said it in 2 weeks, get back behind us, but I would rather see them as separate agenda items.
That's right.
We have a motion and second, any more discussion?
This is the table, the top 2.
This is table top 2, you continue to vote on the first.
Commissioner Myers,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Okay, the third item in that Lake Grace RV sites, will Terry bring us up to speed on?
Well, Mr. Chairman, there are 2 sites that I got estimates to complete up there. First site is there by the south boat ramp, if you will. It consists of 8 sites. We put a restroom in there. Water coming from the existing maintenance facility there close by. Includes electrical and you see the drawing, there's a turnaround there for that. And then also a common dumping station. Evan got with the health department to determine those kind of things and the cost estimate got some others. Total cost for that RV park is $39,000. As you see, it created 8 sites and electrical hookup, added the road work to easily enter and exit sites, added new restroom facility, added water hookup, and added a custom dump site. On the second one, down there further down West Lake Drive, it's taking existing where there's a restroom and some pavilions, and having 6 sites in the common dump area. Again, this is to create 6 sites for electrical hookup, modify entry for better access to site, utilize existing restroom facility, and water hookup and common dump site, and that's 24 done. That's the right. Now, I would dare request that I little bit of contingency, that 4%, if you don't mind, but that other 4% was for the overall project. Escalation in cost associated with all that. Again, and I'll mention this to, commissioners, one thing put in sight, and I think it's a wonderful idea, I think that I've heard different comments over the years about doing this. But managing that, we got to cross that bridge, and that bridge, just figure out how to adequately manage that, internally or externally, whatever. You know, these 6 sites or 8 sites, if there's going to be, do we do it on special occasions or do it for 365 days a year? You know, how do we man that? Where's the resource? So that's all I will say.
Well, I'll go ahead and start some discussion on it before we even get into the notion of another. First of all, let me say that I'm in favor totally of having some parking sites that are very excited. It's something we looked at years ago. The public would get some information out of it. However, I've not received the first phone call or a little bit of public input from anybody in favor of RV parks and playgrounds. But I've had numerous phone calls of residents around the way opposed to the RV park out there, especially in the areas that you mentioned. And certainly adamantly opposed to the temporary RV parks. So I agree with you on the management part. I don't know how it is. We manage that other times there are residents at campgrounds. I don't think this campground will be large enough or used enough to warrant a resident here. Which I start listening to people. Been involved in that, tell us.
I have, and it's in my district, I've talked to all of them. You know, this is exactly why I went and did it myself, because first of all, the 8 sites that you're putting up here, don't think the EPD is gonna agree with that, because you're in a spillway of the lake. I did speak with the DNR and the chief engineer before. I did have Ed out there, and I told him what I was looking for, because I'd already gone over. We have some people from the lake here tonight. I spoke with all of them. I went over this with them. I don't know who you're talking to that is totally against it, but I didn't get anybody that was totally against it. Everybody I talked to, and we had one that had some concerns about it. But the portion that you're talking about putting down here, is this for the boat racers, the 8 sites?
I'm not saying, but that is not in the spillway portion of that. That's up on the high part of that, so it's not going over to the low area spillway of the lake. So those sites are not.
But the spillway would be in between you and getting out.
The roadway goes, is high there and goes out. And so, I mean, Commissioner, that's the best I can come up with, but that's not in the spillway. Even the dump site is not in the spillway. And so, but, you know, if it spills up there and wipes out that road, it's not going necessarily to the spillway. That lower area is off the road. And
but the spillway goes through here, in between the dump station and the campsites, that's what I'm saying.
I'm not going.
Either way, is this for the boat racers that you're looking at, putting these over by the boat ramp? Is that why you decided to do that, or?
I think it was based on the information we have and based on the most suitable site and based on some feedback from some residents and other people over there that I didn't solicit, but was brought to my attention over there. But it's not, whether it's for the boat racers or whoever, that I think that, we decided to listen. If you want to do it right, have the restroom over there, have the water over there, have the sites ready for them to be able to do it. The restroom be an extra amenity to that area that you wouldn't have to go all the way around. I mean, for people that are using that boat ramp.
Well, it's beyond me how we can turn a $30,000 project into a $60,000 project.
Well, that's two sides.
We already have restrooms where we had discussed, I know you and I met out there, Herschel didn't know about that obviously, but you and I had talked about the temporary spots, which have already been paid for by the campers that are out there. The boat racers, because we've been charging them $40 a piece to camp out there. You told me it was $5,000 to $6,000 to put in a temporary pipe.
It's more than $5,000 to $6,000, but that's just running some temporary towers. This is beyond that. And,
Yeah, I understand that.
And this includes the restroom. And there were some people that gave me some feedback that they didn't want that there. And all I do is sit there and say, here's some options to the alternative. If you want to do the boat racing right there, then that's fine. We can have this as a temporary site from that standpoint. We've got some power. So,
Well, you don't want them on this side anyway, because the boat racers don't use the ramp. The boat racers use the area up there where I was talking about putting the temporary spots in. If you're getting flack from people, I don't know where it's coming from, it's in my district, I'll be the one taking the flack for it. Now, I think y'all will agree, I've called everybody, I've updated them on what's going on and all that. I don't agree with this spot down here, because you're looking at management. When you go to management, you're looking at two completely different parks. You've got one on one end of the lake and one on the other end of the lake. So you're causing yourself more confusion by management. I don't know if any of y'all ever camp or not, but I've already been camping 2 weeks this year, and I probably camped probably a month and a half this year. And I've been to a lot of parks and things like that. Most of them have a campground host. And when you have a campground host, you give them that site, but they keep the bathrooms clean, they keep the bathrooms stocked, and they keep whoever, whether it's Josh or whoever they need to get in touch with if they have any issues. They're perfectly capable of calling the police if they have an issue with that. Most of the sites that we go to, you can either Venmo or you can credit card to rent all of these sites. And once you go through, you never talk to anybody. You come in, you have the campground host or Josh that would be delegating who goes where, make sure they get in the right spots. You have a time frame that they can come into a spot. If Josh is gonna be off at 4:30, then that would be the cutoff time, and they would not be able to come in after that. That's why I went through a lot of this to try to figure it out. I'm tickled to death that you're moving forward with this, but I would like to go back to the original plan.
Commission, that original plan over there, I got pushback on it. The original plan didn't include any dump stations, any sanitary aspect of it, didn't include any water associated with it, and it was just temporary hotel. So maybe I'll do whatever the board wants.
What didn't include
And that on that original side up there, didn't exclude any dumping stations.
You talking about the one that I came up with?
Yes. And we didn't have that in that cost of that $6,000 you told me. Right?
No. The 6,000 is for the temporary. But I mean, you're right. I went through it in depth because I had the septic tank permit in my truck. So it was definitely there.
Well, but it wasn't my cost, and you sit there and say,
Right.
how we went from
That's
6,000 to to the 30,000, whatever. And
That's right.
So another restroom is there, it actually fits pretty good. If you don't want to do it, the board up on there, I'm good.
When you talk about the original proposal, you talking about the temporary location right there by the sign,
Yes, sir.
Yes,
the temporary for the boat races?
yes.
You know, I was pretty adamant then, I will not agree to a temporary situation to feed the boat racers if everybody in the county can't use it year round. Bottom line.
Why is that?
Because I'm not seeing.
I mean, now you've got it where nobody can camp at the campground, camp down there at the lake, but yet the boat racers camp down there. That was the whole object of charging them $40 a piece, so eventually we would have the money to give them something to help them while they're down there. I mean, look at the economic.
I don't know where you're coming from with that $40 charge was to eventually help them on a campsite.
Let me put it to you this way. When you look at these sites, you're looking at $250,000 a year income from these campsites once they get established and once we get them. Look at the economic impact that this is causing on the, even with the boat racing, you have 500 to 700 people out
I'm
there.
not arguing that at all. I told you when I started this conversation, I'm firmly for having a campground. We've talked about it for several years and I've been for it ever since.
Well, we're talking about the temporary sites, and you're against them, but look at the economic impact that the boat racers cause in this county, and I think this is a small price to pay that they've already paid for to get some temporary power in there. Once they're gone, take the power out, and as Kurt probably knows, it wouldn't be that hard to get power to them just to give them something, because they're paying $40 a piece for nothing.
I'm still not gonna be in agreement with being exclusive with the use of county property. If we have it there for the boat races on a temporary basis, then we should provide it for anybody on a temporary basis.
You're gonna have a campground at the other end that they can use. We don't want campers right there where the boat racers are at full time. I mean, I can agree. I've got people that don't want that. But this is a way to get the boat racers, I mean, maybe to show appreciation for them coming and bringing all these people and bringing all this economic. You know, when they come in, the restaurants are full.
I'm not arguing with you on that. I fully agree. I was one of the advocates when we got pushed back on the boat racers before you were ever commissioner on how much they brought into the community. I'm not arguing that at all. I am getting calls on people that don't want campground on a temporary basis where you originally had planned. I'm getting calls from people that don't want it on the far end across from their property on the lower end of the lake. So let me put it like this. I would be in total agreement for an RV park out there on the condition that we put it where it originally was back in the 80s or 90s. I'm perfectly fine with that. If we can go with that with the design, I'm perfectly fine.
Where was it at in the 80s and 90s?
Pretty close to where it was.
You know where the brick house is that people lives in?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the covered shelf in the fenced in over there? There's an area out there that's open that the rec park sometimes uses split access, or the road park uses split access, or out there, the rec park uses stuff, they're trash haul off and stuff. There was a campground there many years ago. It'd be out of the way of the boat ramp, which is another pushback that I've had calls on. It would be.
Well, where you getting these calls from?
Maybe.
So
If there are residents around the lake, I'm getting the calls from. And some of them I asked, have you talked to Greg? Yeah, I have. Have you talked to Greg? No, I haven't. So, I'm just listening to people.
I told every one of them. Every single one of them.
Stories apparently, so. But I'm telling you, I'll be in agreement with the campground in that location, based on the input I'm getting from the people out there. Perfectly fine with it, all in support of it.
So you're gonna put it in a spillway?
This one big spillway. This is be just south of where the road runs right by where the deputy's at, our house, it'd be right there before you get to the woods. Right there, that whole area, there's some,
Where do you think the spillway's at?
down there, close to the dam, or closer to the dam.
So are you seeing that the spillway is in between the camp spots? And I understand where you got them up high.
It will not be right there, it will go further up. Here's the road going down there, here's the photograph right there, here's the shed, here's the house right there. What Commissioner or Chairman Howard talked about right there. Right, correct, Mr. Chairman, it's right up here before we get there. This is the shed for the maintenance. This is the house, this is the road coming, what you're talking about right up there. Mr. Chairman, I have to go back and look at that design again. Don't mind, but
And I don't think it's a start from scratch thing. We still got cost per number of sites and stuff like that, on station, power, so it's start from scratch.
that's right, you can still get the dump station there, and just look at that, we can go out there and just move forward. Okay,
Well, the whole object of having a campground was so that they could see the lake. People that go to camp, they want it to be quiet, and they want it to be peaceful. By you putting it up here by the house, you're putting it right across from y'all's house?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you want campgrounds across from your house?
No, sir.
Okay, well, there's one complaining person. So that's why I was saying, put it down at the other end. I don't think I had but one person that did not want it at the other end. And it was not because of the people being down there, they had other issues with it. Everybody I talked to, and how many times have I called y'all? Multiple times, trying to get this figured out so everybody would be happy. And that's why we looked at the far end. I don't see what the big deal is, because I'm the one that will take the brunt of it, because it's in my district and they're talking to me, and I understand.
District lines don't matter when it comes to county commission complaints, I assure you.
Yeah, because I get a lot from y'all on the road.
And I get a lot from yours, so district lines don't matter, and you're not gonna get the brunt of it, I'm telling you. They'll call every commissioner that's elected. That's not the issue. And if Mr. Godwin doesn't want across and by the deputy's house, then that's where the original campground was that I'm talking about.
I've lived out there since 1981, and I have never seen campers over there. I've seen tents for Boy Scouts, and that's like one night, maybe 2 nights out of the year.
I don't think it was ever used as a true RV park. It was just all
No,
of the
it was
stuff
never.
and all that stuff was there. It was all been ripped out now. But you know what area I'm talking about?
I know, I've seen the flags out there.
We don't have any flags for them.
Oh, yes, there are flags out
He's
there.
talking about where they're wanting to put it up by the road.
Oh.
She's talking about where you flagged this side.
I have flags out. I'm talking
I
about.
put some flags, we'll put some
This
flags.
flag out.
Just not where I'm talking about. Are you flagged it up by the house?
No, he flagged it.
So,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Where I'm
we
talking
have
about,
not-
there's no flags there.
Where the mounds of dirt are.
Close to that.
Yeah, it's close to cover shelter with Tench Road.
Yeah, we don't want it there either.
Okay. Well, we got one that doesn't want it down the other end. We got one that doesn't want it there. Numerous calls that don't want it, but they want the valve fixed. So, I guess we'll discuss this.
I think if you're gonna have a campground, try it at the second park first and see how it goes. And if it's a big hit and you're making money, then talk about expanding it somewhere else.
Where the single
Halfway.
pavilions at. And that's what we talked about before, was putting in 10 spots, smaller scale, there's already a bathroom there. See how it goes, and then if it goes well, then you would add more spots to it and make more money. I mean, the problem I have is, from a business standpoint, you're looking at losing $250,000 a year possibly, that you could be making off of this and making improvements along the way to the lake, without any cost to the public, to the taxpayer. And plus, you've given a service to the people, because there's no telling how many people that I've had during the boat races upset because they can't camp down there and enjoy the lake, but the boat racers get to. We have talked to the boat racers, Mr. Nichols, and that's what they have to do because their boats are so expensive. They're small. They wheel them in there with a dolly and put them in. That's why they put them there. They don't use the boat ramp because it scuffs the bottom and changes water dynamics or whatever of their boat. That's why I was saying we could put in the temporary spots and then put in the 10 spots up at the small campground and look at that and see how it goes. Because you already have a bathroom there. The only thing you need to add was showers.
I thought there was other residents as well, that in front of the pavilion, in front of the sign.
We're talking about temporary there, though.
Well, there's nothing temporary, we're talking about power. Commissioner, I mean, it'd be temporary with the roll wire out, there's some temporary part of it, but that's gonna go there, and it's gonna be in front of them. I mean, temporary, you're gonna have a generator out there, each one of them has a generator, not be in front of the house. You know, and that's the cheapest way to go do it, is we'll have a generator. We don't have any other, there's no water hookup, there's no sewer hookup, and, you know, if you want to do temporary, just have some spots out there where people come in there and park. And, you know, that's temporary for me. You have power up, then I don't, you know, I don't know where.
Have you talked to REA?
I have not, but I've had other people talk to REA. Yes.
And what did they say?
What regards?
Temporary power.
Well, they can provide it, technically. I was hooking it up over there and provide the rest of it, they're gonna provide the transport.
Right. Just like you were saying, that's what they do at the mill. They put temporary out, in several locations.
I have to make sure it's safe to do that.
Well, that's why we were gonna put the fence up. You put the temporary power along the fence so we don't have people traveling across it and things like that.
Well, I didn't have a fence up there, Commissioner, and I didn't have, you know, my standpoint over there, do whatever the board wants to do. I need a clear scope of how we go about doing this, and from this board, and we'll go through what y'all's wishes are. Even down the other end, we'll hook it up there, and it's up to y'all, Commissioner, and y'all get called, but I get called, and I get different feedback on different people out there, and I don't know, and I'm not soliciting them. I've got people call me up, and how to do it, whatever you want, whatever the board wants up there, if it's our power, we can, you know, get it for you, then that's where we'll go.
Well, to me, that's gonna be the most cost-effective and feasible way to go about this is to put that temporary power in. When they're gone, you take the power out and you don't have to worry about people camping there. You're not gonna put in a new road and you're not gonna designate each spot. You may do it while they're there, but once they're gone, you take the flags up if you need to flag off the spots. And once you take up the power, there's nobody gonna be camping there.
So that's not gonna be, that's gonna be costly.
I mean, they're paying $40 a piece for something. So what do we do? I mean, are we gonna push this down the road some more, or?
That's up to you. I mean, at this stage, you'd have to make a motion to get a second to proceed with the plan. And I can tell you now, I'm not going to second a vote for that plan. Or anything at this stage, with the calls that I'm getting, people saying, I don't want a campground out there before there's a foul ticket. So, back up, regroup, try to find a space that everybody's residents out there are fine with. Again, I'm not opposed to a campground out there. Not based on this. And not based on participation.
I'll let you know. Vote on both these sites, or decide on one side or what we're doing.
Well, are you putting septic tanks at each one of these? Is that part of your project?
Not at each site, there'll be a common dump site at each location. That was, just kind of coming up something real quick. And, trying to meet that station over there, each site would not have a dump station, not a septic system, we have a common dump.
Well, and see, that's what you would need for these spots, because otherwise, every 3 days, they're gonna have to haul their gray water or their black water all the way around here to get it to the dump station. So we need to look at it where we're gonna put a septic tank at each one, and then we'll put a pump system in so that we can pump it up to this main dump station. And that way we would, you would alleviate all this traffic going around there, and people are not gonna wanna stay there, I can tell you, if they're having to haul their gray water and everything up that way. And we don't wanna do something halfway, we wanna do it and make it first class, we want it to be where people want to come in. The snowbirds that come in, they come in and they stay for a good while, and I don't have a problem with that. But we wanna make sure, hey, give me y'all's papers, y'all can't leave. I had to sign their papers so they could, said they'd been here. Anyway, we need to do something to the point of where we get it to where it's pieces.
So I can come up there, if you want, we'll have to, encourage to get together and figure out how to get that accomplished and come back with the plan on that second RV spot.
So when we talk about septic tanks, is that the function?
Yes.
That's gonna be at the upper part. This one is at the far end of the lake.
This one here.
Yes. Yes.
So which one are we going to?
That one, I don't think we're gonna be able to vote on any of them. I mean, I'm good with voting on it, but the one down there, definitely not. Right. This one is at the far end, away from all the boaters, away from any of the hustle bustle of people water skiing, jet skiing and stuff like that. It'd be more of a quiet area for the
So
campers.
this is the one with the 6 tanks.
Right, that's right. But we need to add septic tanks for each one and a pump
If we
system.
do that, I need to go back.
And that's going to be permanent, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the only temporary spots we were looking at was right at where the 3 pavilions are at, and there's a sign. And the only ones that use that area is the boat racers, and they come in twice a year for 3 or 4 days, and they come in and they just park right there because their boats are $150,000, and they don't lease them out, and they want it to be right where they can watch them and they can work on them right there at their RV, because a lot of their RVs have toy doors and they have all of their equipment on. Right there, where the sand is at, right, matter of fact, it would be right straight down from where we're talking about putting the temporary signs.
Why don't they just run generators and let them run generators in there, just for 3 days, 2 times a year, 6 days? They all have generators, don't they?
They do.
And so, from that standpoint, why don't we let them right now do that, spend $6,000 more to go do that, and then look at this, what will it take for your suggestion up there, look at this RV2 area up there, and I can come back to the board with an estimate, how to go about that.
Well, and you're running a diesel generator for 4 days, and at $5.50 a gallon for diesel fuel. The questions I get is, they're paying $40 a piece just to stay down there, and they don't get anything for that $40. Normally, if you pay $40 to camp somewhere, you get some kind of amenities with that. You would get electrical, water, sewage, whatever, but you get something, and they don't get anything, and they have to sit there and listen to, hold on. They sit there and have to listen to their neighbor's generator run all night because they don't have any power. And that's all I'm saying is if we can put in some temporary power there that can be rolled up when they leave, and I've already talked to REA and all of them, and that would not be a problem. You roll it up when they're gone, and if anybody comes and wants to camp, they're instructed to go down to the campground. I mean, it's not that, I don't know why it's that big of a deal. It is to the taxpayers, because, I mean, can you imagine an extra $250,000 going into the general fund? Or just putting in, maybe $60,000 total in here, but you're not talking about putting that much money in it right now until you see how it goes. I know Happy Acres, always full. They were full every time you went down there.
All right, so y'all will regroup and come back with something
That's right.
that all the residents are happy with and we can be happy with.
So desire, it's always so desire, I will do that.
What I'd like to see is for Kevin, you get with Ed, Ed gets with Kurt, y'all get together with the residents out there and have yourself a town meeting in West Virginia and say, hey, this is what we're gonna do, we're gonna put the camper sites here and here. Who's supposed to do it, who'll go on with it? Let them have some input.
I've already told you that. I have talked to them multiple times. And yes, that is one thing you have on there. That's the only reason we're talking about this now, is because we have the valve. And that's what I told them. I brought it up a year ago. I think Ralph was in the commission then. And we discussed it about the safety aspects of it. A child getting hurt or something, because that lake is not very deep. I think the deepest part's 12 feet deep.
We can get into that motion.
We have
the agenda. I mean, but what I'm saying is, y'all get together, talk about it.
Can I
You don't
finish
want to have,
that? I was talking, and that's why I'm trying to tell you that you say,
And bring us back to something.
what's the difference in having a meeting and calling? I mean, if you do it one-on-one, you give them the opportunity to make their decision without somebody else, a neighbor coming up and saying, well, you against that part, or you for that part. If you do it one-on-one, it's more of a personal.
Don't care how you do it. Just, you know, make a motion when y'all get together, or don't have a meeting, I don't care, have a meeting, it doesn't matter to me. Just come back with something that everybody else is happy with, and we can agree to finance and pay for it. I'm fine with it. I'm good about it.
Call me, Ed.
All right. So we table the other two, item J, Ms. Jefferson.
Okay, Commissioners, I know every year we have, we've been in the budget several times over the council call, so this is, get ready for the auditor, this is reconciled budget. Amanda, looked at, in the reconciliation over there, and she did several bullet points. Most of them have to do with salary, healthcare, insurance, overdone, mine about that, what you guys pay, y'all gave me, and then, finance administration was, contingency of the resolution of where that goes, about revenues and expenditures. Rest of them, were, salaries for EMS, we're trying to get, the COVID issues associated with that, I thought we had that covered, but apparently we just didn't. But basically, is we just need an amendment and, to approve the resolution to balance the budget, last year's budget. Experience working. So,
So we received, right at 2 million more in revenues than projected.
basically, the property taxes, we didn't get as much as we budgeted. They were short, you know, that's all worked out in the bottom line of it. We got some more from sales tax, we got some more from insurance premium tax, we got some grants, we got, you know, various other little small that added up to that. And then, you know, expenditures were, overall lower. Largely, you know, may have been cash, flow aspects of it to, you know, EMS went over, COVID related, salary related, insurance claims, so forth, so forth. So the bottom line is, you know, it's good that we're up, and our budget's up by $2 million over last year's budget, 22 budget, so it equals out about the same.
I noticed that the property tax, that what you were saying was down, the real property.
And personal.
And I noticed it's down again this year. How do you project that, or is that something we
I
need?
mean, you know, Commissioners, as I told you on the budget hearing, so there is, you know, collections and adjustments are made, but, you know, collections are not always 100%. And so we base that projection, and I told y'all in the last meeting up there, the last budget meeting, is, you know, I'm being aggressive on property taxes. If I miss it, and the closer I get to that, I miss it, then, you know, we have shortfall. Right now, some other aspects, the economy is doing very well. We focused on the economy, there's a lot of things going on. So that's doing well, you know, so that's covered, that part of it. But the closer we estimate that property tax, the more percentage we get, we're gonna fall short periodically. I'm about to push that as far as I can push it, at the last budget hearing. So, yes, the property tax is both personal and, fell short a little bit.
So you're saying that's from collections, or, I mean, cause we're looking at $2 million is what it was to me, cause,
We didn't miss $3 million.
3 years ago, it was at 10 million, and now it's at 8 million.
No, sir, that part of it, if you look at it, the rules of accounting practices and standardization over there move some of those to different locations. We're talking apples and oranges here. So the real property and the property tax was subdivided in other areas that may have gone in that one area. So there's several line items.
So it came out of real property and went into something
And
else?
there's a separate category associated with that property, yes, sir. I don't know specifically what you're referring to, but, that's.
It was the real property,
Yeah.
that the value went down.
It did. Some of that went to other aspects of it.
Okay.
But it's still overall, I would think, about $2 million. So,
All right, I'll make a motion that we amend the budget of this 2021 year.
second, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second, discussion.
I still think we need to, look at the auditors and take their advice on amending the budget before the year end, before the fiscal year end.
And so we try to do that, we're doing that more actively. And there's some costs like insurance claims we don't see until last week. They come in every week, so a lot of that associated with that. And so trying to do the best we can with that.
Well, I'm just saying, a lot of this, you can see it before it happens.
We just
I'm
have
not
to
talking about
manipulate it
healthcare,
and put it up there.
but we're 2.5 months into the next year.
Well, and to that part up there, I mean, there's a lot of things going on with it, you just got to close the books out. And after that, there may be some adjustments, Alder's come in there to do some adjustments. That, you know, that should have gone in this other category versus what's in right now. So they'll make adjustments, and that's standard.
All right, any more discussion? Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Myers,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry.
No.
All right, item K, in the amended section is vows of late grace. I
I got a lot of calls on this. This is something that we discussed and budgeted parts for, I think, for a temporary fix, which was basically the hot tap plug, which would be a temporary fix. We are waiting on approval from the Corps of Engineers for a permanent fix on this, which is gonna be rather expensive. One reason the Corps of Engineers has to be involved is because it was the Corps of Engineers project. They have to sign off on the modifications. Still maybe some times we get an answer from Corps of Engineers. So, get the call, got on it, and also the, some sort of questions. So right now, we'll make a motion to go ahead and authorize the administrator to proceed with the temporary plug, if you will, to get us by until we can get some answers.
The plug goes there on a temporary basis, so
Temporary basis,
and it may hold, may not hold.
may not hold, may hold a month, it may hold 10 months, may hold a year, but probably they all has to be all right. So, have a motion to say,
So, once you put the temporary plug in, if we had a natural disaster or something like that, we don't have any way to control the water flow in there. So you'd have to have somebody down there, right before that to take it out.
Check it out. They'd have to take it out. This is a plug with a bladder.
Right.
Blow it
Blow up,
I
right.
blow it up and stick it in there and blow it up over there. You'll probably, we'll have to have it maintained as long as we go to do that. The box that I gave to y'all designed to looking at, more permanent fix over there, we need to get buy-in from the Corps of Engineers. And that'll take that place. There is no guarantee about this plug that it's left out. We have to get it designed, the wood stoppers, they will do this all the time in industrial plants. So, you know, it can be done. It's relatively expensive, so I gotta get a price to get this thing done. But if there's a bid, and you always take it out.
I just want to make sure we're not creating another hazard, so I'm good.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Hires?
Yes.
Commissioner McCreary?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts?
Yes. Okay, item 12, appointments. We have 2 appointments based on, enlargement of the tax board from 5 to 7. Mr. Thompson,
Yes, sir. This is for approval. The director, their board recommended 2 names at large. Chief Perry Morgan and Mark Watson of the Housing Authority. The 2 at large positions which will fill those spots that, with community leadership that would strengthen that board that they need to represent.
you want to make that formal motion?
I make that formal motion, yes.
I'll second that. So the motion and a second to nominate Perry Morgan and Mark Watson to the district.
Commissioner Hires? Commissioner McCreary?
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts? Commissioner Thomas?
Yes. I did look about that, I was to serve, I guess I need to say that.
Items with the county administrator.
Mr. Chairman, I have 3. One of them is looking at FYI. You know, I told y'all past in there that the area behind the gym, that the county owns, that Frank has been pushing to have, and pushing the legislation to put some money in there. I got notice from our representative that the money was put in the budget, the state budget for it, and it would have to go through One Georgia to do that, so that's good news, and it's process going. More details than that, I don't have for you at this time, but the means of that activity and doing something for the equestrian center, the complex is moving forward. And we'll get back to y'all real quick. Also, that we're struggling trying to get truck drivers and heavy equipment operators, and I'm asking that you allow me to go up to $3.50 an hour to start paying, and already try to be up below that on truck drivers and slash heavy equipment operators, to see if we can attract some more to that. They're making a good bit more than that, but our level is extremely, that's beyond my approval rate to get them even close to that. So I'm asking to go to $3.50 an hour and see what we can get some more interest in.
You asking to
I want approval to go up to $13.50 to offer somebody to come work for us. The entry pay was much less than that, and I couldn't, with my approval, get beyond $12 an hour, and I'm asking to go to $13.50. All right, for truck drivers and heavy equipment operators and anybody already below them.
You wanna put that up?
I like that, that's my motion. All right.
I'll make a motion that we allow the trip to.
A second.
That's only truck drivers.
And a heavy equipment operator, I'm gonna have to put stuff on them. But mainly truck drivers.
And this will be added to the general, or to the budget.
We'll have to amend the budget later on, maybe. We've been doing about a couple of truck drivers, so it might be a wash. Today.
Commissioner Hires,
Yes.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes. I got my city, part-time?
I wish, if you were better in personnel, I should have noticed, well, let you try. And the last thing here is the loss negotiations, and they start that process, and I could get chairman, vice chairman to aid me in negotiating the loss with the cities. I have talked to the cities, and basically, and I've talked to y'all in the past over there, with all the things that we got going on over there, just to start this process. There's a formation, a formality to it, but my suggestion to this board is to keep the loss percentage the same. Everybody sets their budget up, has been doing that, and I think keep doing it to grow that penny, and everybody will benefit in what they do. I've got favorable responses, but we need to start that process. This is the loss, is what Mark said,
All right, so
I will need, Mr. Chairman, to start that process. I just need, you and the vice chairman to be able to sit down with me, start that process. And we'll come back to this board and with anything associated with that. And I'm just, but you don't notice over there, I think we'll find out what the cities offer over there, but I think they will offer, they're the same, both of them. Or at least the ones I talked to.
All right, we want to make a motion to.
I don't think we
need to do that.
No, I don't think we need to do that right now. I just have no notice of start this process.
All right, I'll serve over here.
Other than that, Mr. Chairman, I have no more items. We've got enough.
Out of the commissioners, Mr. Perry.
So do I need to make that motion, like we did with the sheriff's department and the others, requesting advance approval for not to exceed expenditures for the loss for the dump truck?
If you want to, Commissioner, Chairman, I would suggest allow $180,000 and come out SPOS money, we'll bring, if it's such as we need to go ahead and get it, it's a timely thing, if it's not, we're gonna come back to you. We'll spend it and we'll tell you what the cost is gonna be, and we're not gonna spend more than $180,000.
Is that fair enough for you?
I'll second it.
That will come out SPOS.
Any discussion?
And that's $180,000, because they won't spend more than that.
Right.
Commissioner Perry,
Yes.
Commissioner Roberts,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Hires.
Yes.
Wait,
I want to thank the Godwins for showing up and for y'all's support. Y'all bearing with us to get this, we will get it, and I hope we're gonna get it, and it'll be good for everybody, everybody will be happy. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you for your hard work on it.
You're welcome.
Mr. Cole? Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you so much. I appreciate you and the diligence you guys do. I want to thank, County Administrator Andy for continuing to work on, the senior citizen building at, Hall Richard City. The $700 grant and the procurement of the property. And so we're moving forward. I know they work busy to cross all the T's and all the I's, so we're looking forward to, at sometime this year, demolishing that old building and start, putting things in place. Thank you all so much. I should have said demolishing the whole house, not all of it.
We're not involved,
No,
no,
we're doing that, okay?
we're in the process of securing that property.